Can I bring back race 4?
So I want to ask you a few questions, but I want to remind the audience that we ask that you not videotape the Q&A. So, but let's start with, you've done a lot of work in documentary and some work in fiction, and will you talk a little bit about that difference?
Yeah, well, this is my first one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of similarities in terms of storytelling and working with the actors, which was the thing that I was perhaps most nervous about. To me, seemed, well, it's supposed to be very enjoyable, and I was very lucky to work with some great actors. But that seemed to happen quite naturally. I mean, the difference is the scale. You know, I'm used to working with a tiny crew, 2-3 people max, me shooting, recording the sound, and then suddenly you have this very big production and lots of trucks. And you have to finish at a certain time, and that sort of thing, and it's very structured. So that was very difficult. I mean, the scale, I think, is the main difference.
And then I was wondering if each of you could talk a little bit about your process on this film.
Well, process. I don't know really. I mean, the tone on any film is set from the top. The director he steers the ship. When you have someone that you trust, and someone who you have a huge confidence absolutely understands the script and the tone of it. So I think that's the best preparation and process you can do as an actor, is to understand your role within the overall tone of the piece. And when you have someone like Morgan setting such a clear tone, it's a very easy thing to fit into.
See what a good actor is, just make it. I
just make this shit up. It just comes so naturally. So.
It's very good at improv. And actually, there is quite a bit of improv in the film as well.
I'd say 70% of it is improv. That's absolutely not true. James Graham's an amazing writer. Absolutely amazing writer. One of our finest writers. And your process?
The process of coming out to the film and working on it. Yeah, I had a very normal casting process. I was casted in China, and they flew me over for an audition, and I got it. And it's been a great joy. It's my first English film, and I loved every minute of it. And I'm glad to be, doing this with everyone with Morgan. It's a very good learning process for me, and I'm sure for you too.
Well, I mean, to say we were looking far and wide in the UK for a young British Chinese actress, and there weren't actually that many at the age that we were hoping to cast, and so we looked out towards China, and
Makes sense.
It's important to me that we cast somebody actually from China, and so we worked with the casting director in China. We saw a lot of people, and I saw a lot of tapes, and when I saw Jo, I immediately knew that she was very talented, but we took a bit of a punt and flew her over to the UK to meet Asa, and to do a little audition with Asa, and it just worked, and so I felt very confident.
For this film, I think whenever you develop a character that is sort of complex and is so far from yourself, it is, there is a certain technique into finding both where you want to take it as well as taking it from the director and his vision for the character in the film. And in the case of Nathan, I spent a lot of time talking with people with Asperger's and going to schools and developing this character, which was both based loosely upon Daniel from Morgan's documentary.
I made a documentary about 8 years ago which was called Beautiful Young Minds, which followed a group of the British kids to the International Mathematical Olympiad. And this film was loosely inspired by that, but there was a character in that film called Daniel, who was a young white British boy who became obsessed with China and taught himself Mandarin in 3 months and went out to China and came back with a Chinese girlfriend and married her when he was 17. And we didn't put the marriage at the end of the film because we thought people won't believe that they got married. They did actually get married. And so Asa met with Daniel and really, Daniel was somebody who was very, very introvert and is very shy, but if you spend time with him and talk to him, he's an incredibly interesting person and is able to articulate his experiences very well. So there's a misconception sometimes of people on the spectrum not able to explain how they feel, and that's certainly not true with Daniel. So he was able to talk to Asa and give him a real insight into what's going on in his head when he's trying to communicate or when he's unable to communicate with people. And Asa also, as I said, went into schools and met with other people who were on the spectrum and was able to talk to them and get an insight into their lives and some of the difficulties that they have. So he did a lot of preparation.
I'm going to open it up to the audience. Does anybody have any questions? I see one right in the center here.
There's a lot going on. Was the editing process very difficult?
The question was the editing process very difficult? There's a lot going on in the film.
Difficult, enjoyable actually, genuinely enjoyable. I think for me, coming from documentary, it was important to have options in the edit. Partly the way that we shot the film gave me some options. And so the film that you see is not, and people always say there's 3 different films, the one you write, the one you shoot, and the one you edit. And that's certainly true. During the edit process, we restructured the film. The structure was different from as it was scripted, not enormously, but significantly. But for me, that was a process which felt very familiar as well. I spent many years of my life in an edit suite, and actually the process of editing fiction didn't feel greatly different to what I'd experienced before. So you have lots of options, but they're different options in terms of the different takes and that sort of thing. But I wouldn't describe it as difficult. I would describe it as enjoyable. I worked with a great editor, Peter Lambert, and really enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, how was it that you came upon Sally Hawkins?
The question was, how was it that you came upon Sally Hawkins?
Well, we wanted Sally to do the part, and we approached her with the script, and very thankfully, she said yes. I think it helped that we had this man on board because they starred together in a play in the UK called Constellation, which was a great play that I went to see, and that inspired me, gave me the idea to cast them together. It's just the 2 of them on stage.